Futures trading involves substantial risk of loss and may not be suitable for all investors.
Good morning. It's Wednesday, January 22nd, about 6 a.m. Central Time. Kind of want to show you guys something real quick. We got about 3 inches of snow on the beach here. Kind of wild. Something unprecedented. It's completely shut down the entire kind of Florida panhandle. So sorry about the jumpiness of the camera, but thought that was worth watching. Hoping it was grabbed there on the camera. But let's get into it here. So looking at the overnight price action in the precious metals, they are mixed following a recovery on speculation that the tariffs on Mexico and some other countries could make it more difficult for the U.S. to import gold and silver. Remember, gold is a major import and also silver. You've got Mexico. They account for about 24% of the world's silver annually that is mined. So it's really interesting to see how the dynamics will play out if silver is one of those components that, if imported to the U.S., could be taxed at a higher rate because of the tariffs. So what we're seeing is a lot of the funds, the hedge funds, they're kind of scrambling to secure silver within the U.S. borders here that would be tariff-free at the moment. And I think that's why you saw from a performance leader here yesterday, silver was the one that was really rising here, up about 1.5% at one point, and looking at the data here, 3143.5. So looking at the overnight price action and your metals in the setup for the day. So starting off with the precious metals sector, you do have gold. It climbed to an 11-month high. 2774.40 was your high of the overnight session here, 2756.20. So the market was able to recover in that 2750, kind of your first line in the sand for an intraday support level. Shifting to the silver market, digesting some of its gains here from yesterday. We do have it down about a nickel at 31.43. Got up to 31.71, low 31.42. So at the low of the session here, perhaps some rotation is taken underway here into that gold market and other markets out there. You do have copper futures down about 295, bit of a lagger here since copper futures were one of the leaders out the gate to start off the year in 2025. You got aluminum down about $26, and platinum had a real nice gain here yesterday, and then kind of coming off a bit here, down about 0.5% at 965. So doing a check on the gold silver ratio, sitting at about 88-1 right now. Looking at this thing on a daily chart here, high recently has been about 90-1, now sitting at about 88-1 here. The low back in October, getting down to about 78-1. So at that point, that's when silver really looked like it was breaking out to the upside in some of those markets. So shifting some of the other commodity headlines that I've been watching. Remember, I wake up periodically throughout the night, check things like the Bloomberg Terminal, other independent research sources here, and then I also coordinate with our other coworkers here. So Trump, he's widening his tariffs on China and Europe. That's his day 2 in office. And we're talking about 10% tariffs on China. So Chinese stocks fell on Wednesday. So they snapped a 5-day winning streak here. It was the CSI 300 and headed for its first decline in 5 days. Now, what sector would be most impacted by tariffs in China? And of course, it's going to be the agricultural sector. So we're seeing a slew of red here on the screen, specifically in that market. So not surprisingly, that's your biggest decliner. And you also have soybeans down about 0.5% right now. The low in the overnight action was 10.56 3/4. High was 10.67. So a small recovery there. I know with problems in the Midwest here with these freezes, with transportation shut down because of the fact that we've had this massive snowstorm come underway here, you are seeing a bit of a recovery and a bit of a rally in some of the agricultural markets. One of the charts that you should take a look at here, if you're just a chart enthusiast like I am, you want to look at that wheat market here, and then definitely look at corn. Corn was the leader to the upside with a breakout to the upside. Now, I am hearing that a lot of farmers are starting to gear up those hedge accounts here. So expect to see, as those farmers get profitable, they are going to look to put on some of those short positions in those markets, and the put options in the agricultural markets, in my opinion, are relatively inexpensive given where prices are at. So remember, if you'd like to explore opening up an account with Blue Line Futures, it only takes about 5 to 10 minutes to complete an online application. Just send an email to info@bluelinefutures.com, and we'll send you over that link and you can get started. Now, turning excuse me here, got some dry weather out there, so get me here. So turning our attention to the energy markets here. So starting off with that, you do have crude oil futures recovering. About a 3-day sell-off in the oil market here, peaking right around $78, kind of coming off as we have a lot of discussion here as far as, how fast can Trump get production on, and will he take a hard stance on Iran? So that's where things, I think, really get underway. His first and foremost, restocking the SPR. Secondly, here, trying to ramp up production. Now, this comes at a time where the weather and the adverse weather that we've seen here have really drawn down some of those supplies out there in the energy markets just recently. We saw a big reduction in supplies of natural gas, and we've seen a series of several weekly declines on the EIA inventory data coming out of the crude oil market. Now shifting the focus to bond yields, the dollar index, and FX. A lot of the FX currencies have been rallying pretty aggressively. Kind of leading the charge has been the euro currency. The dollar index has come off quite sharply here just recently after peaking just over about 110. Now we're sitting at about 107.73. You'll want to see how the action unfolds with, you do get these tariffs on China. How does it impact the New Zealand dollar, the Australian dollar, and things like that? We've seen the Mexican peso also recover. Something to note, gold and Canadian dollars, it did hit a record high on a chart breakout here, and it looks like it could rally a bit more. You are seeing the Canadian dollar weaker in the overnight session here, as well as the Japanese yen. Getting back over to the debt market and the 2-year yields and the benchmark, the 10-year yield, you do have yields. They've come off in the last 3-4 trading sessions here, surprisingly. Very sharp sell-off from their highest levels. So you got the 10-year note here unchanged, 108.22. Did briefly punch through that 109 level. Now looking at some other things here, getting into the crypto space, you do have Bitcoin, the SEC launching a crypto task force. That was some news yesterday. We saw a sharp recovery in Bitcoin, trading between about 97,000 on the downside up to 110,000 on the upside. Trump did launch those coins, and then the Melania coin over the weekend kind of sent the crypto space into a frenzy here. If you're going to get involved with crypto on the futures side, you probably want to focus on that February contract as the January is set to expire. So returning to the U.S. equity markets, we are seeing another push higher in U.S. equities after yesterday, a big move higher here. So the tech-heavy NASDAQ really rallied on some AI headlines overnight. And then you also had Netflix, their earnings and subscriber numbers grew at about 15%. Now looking at a couple things here, getting into the CME's Fed Watch tool, no new change right here. About a 99.5% chance the Fed doesn't cut rates at that January 29th meeting. You get out to March, about a 26% chance. You get out to May, it's about a 43% chance. And then where it gets interesting is June and farther out and into October. They're expecting about 1 to 2 interest rate cuts. We'll have to see how the tariffs unfold with Trump and everything else. Looking at the data coming out, we are going to have a little bit of data here as you get to the end of the week. We've got this CB leading index month over month. Nothing really big out there that comes out at about 9 a.m. Tomorrow, you're going to get the unemployment claims. You'll get natural gas storage, expecting another big drawdown. Crude oil inventories expecting a drawdown of 2 million barrels. Then you're going to get your flash PMI, your manufacturing PMI, your services PMI, your University of Michigan consumer sentiment and inflation expectations and new housing sales. So that's where the data gets a little bit intense here tomorrow. Now your one-day performance, you do have sugar pushing up about 1%. That's been a big dog here in the markets just recently. Coffee going up, S&P 500 going up, and then everything else kind of across the board just slightly higher or slightly weaker in the markets. Looking at the metals from a technical standpoint, you do have gold futures kind of matching a 3 triple top on the chart. So what you want to do is look at and circle that November 22nd high, also your December 11th high, and then look where we're at right now. We're kind of drifting a bit higher. I think your first critical support, kind of 27.50 on an intraday basis. Below that, going to be 27.15. Then you break at 2700 and then 26.65 being the 50-day moving average. Silver futures need to break out above 31.90 in the high of the overnight session, 31.71. We get over 31.90, we should see that continuation upwards. 32 and 32.5 are kind of your critical levels. 33, that was that recent high right around that December 12th Fed meeting here. The copper market again peaked back on January 17th here and has come off about 3-4 trading sessions. So Bill Baruch, my partner, he's going to be on CNBC tomorrow for the halftime show. I'll be on the Worldwide Exchange tomorrow morning with Frank Holland here sometime between Central Time. It's going to be about 4:15 to 4:45. I don't expect any of you guys to watch it. It's going to be a small segment here. We're going to hit on gold, silver, copper. I'll give a recap on the metals minute, but that's your setup for the day. If you got any questions, give me a call, 312-858-7303. Remember, futures option trading does involve risk of loss, and it may not be suitable to all investors. Good luck, good trading.